The Selenium IDE is a Firefox extension that gives us the ability to record and formulate test cases on a website. The tool is very basic to get started with, but has advanced options and controls that really allow us to refine our test cases and manage them. Let's take a look at the IDE and the controls it gives us for testing within Selenium. So we have a test case that we've formulated here, and it's really simple to go off and save that. I can go through, I can just say save test case as. In this case, it was saved here, and so it already has a name. I could do save test case as and then rename it as I want to. I pulled this up just to show you these are saved as an HTML document. It's something we could open and edit by hand. We don't have to use it within the IDE, but the IDE gives us this really simple interface here. For instance, let's say we don't want to type the username before the password. I can move individual items around. I can move them around one above the other. Unfortunately, it only allows me to move these one at a time. I can't move them as a group. But I can insert statements. So again, as I'm moving these around, let's say I wanted to put an additional statement inside of there, I can insert a command, and then I can choose by hand to pick a command, or I can record a new command, either way. So I could come in, I could say I want to add something, assert something, validate something, whatever the command might be, or I can hit the record button, and then it'll record things at this location. So the IDE gives us a lot of flexibility on editing our test case inside of here, even within this tool. Now, past that, we can, when we go through our playback, we can control the speed of this. So right now I have the playback set very, very slow. And so it really allows me to see step by step. And I can even pause the playback. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me take out this step. I can even pause the playback at certain steps if I want to go and see what's exactly is going on. So you can see I can pause it right here and say, hey, hold on, what's going on here? What step am I on? Oh, I just asserted something and then I did that. Okay, let me just continue and resume playback of my test. Or I can even go through and I can pause, I can run the test, I can pause it, and go step by step myself. And so that gives me a lot of debug options inside of here to be able to sort out things as they go. Now, apparently I've broken my test in moving things around. Oh, no, it's because I started running a test and I got it out of sequence. That's what happened here. I was logged in right there. But that's what happened there. And so now, again, I can crank this up to full speed, run the test from there. Sorry. Let me bring it down. There you go. And I can crank up the speed and let it run from there. I can crank it up to a higher speed along the way as well. And again, I think I moved my items around here, so I broke my test there. So let me try that one more time. You have to be careful in editing and speaking at the same time, otherwise you will end up with a bad test case. All right, so that's a little bit of the editing features we can do inside of there. We're not here to actually make this test case work. We're here just to talk about the editing features. Again, I can insert, I can delete, I can move steps around. Past that, there are a few other options we can talk about. We might have noticed up here this base URL. The base URL right now I'm testing on my local machine. These tests will all are based assuming my local machine. Let's say though I wanted to move off to some dev machine. Like I knew that I have some machine in my organization called dev.myorg.com or something like that. And this is our dev machine. I could go and run these tests against a different URL and it would just basically swap out that localhost. Everything else would be the same, it'd just swap out that localhost. Or as I'm moving my test up, maybe I have a system integration test location. That's what I call SIT here. Or a user acceptance test location. Or I could eventually get to my real site out there. You know, who knows what this is going to be. It's going to be whatever's in the organization. But I can change around this base URL to allow my tests to run in different locations, even though they're the same tests. I can edit that quite simply and run these tests in many locations instead of being just stuck here on my local machine. Even further here, I can do some additional options. There's a few other things we can look at here underneath our options menu. So if I bring up our options menu, you can see I have a few other features. Now, one of them that's important here is this default timeout. This is saying how long will the test wait for the website before it gives up on it. The default is 30 seconds. I changed mine to be 10 seconds just as not to be sitting around for too long. You could make it 5 seconds. You could make it 2 minutes if you have a slow action that's happening inside of there. But this is the default time by which it's going to sit around and wait. The other thing we can point to real quick is we have formatters and builders and plugins and other things we can talk about this that you can use and as an extension inside of here. I want to talk about the formatters for a second. The formatters inside here is what sort of default format you want to have this if you're going to extract the test cases. So if I'm going to copy and paste these steps in the test cases, as we'll see in a second, you can actually copy them out as Ruby or Python or Java or C# test cases. So we see here, if I select all these and I right click and I say copy, and let's say I'm going to come over and just going to paste them in some other place. I'll just put them in a Word doc for now. And I paste them. Notice here it's actually spitting out Java code. This is a way I can build test cases and move them into another source. So our Selenium IDE, as you can see, has a ton of different features that allow us to go beyond just basic formulating of test cases. Of course, we can move them, we can edit them, and record them, but we can actually create other versions of test cases, our code-based ones, our WebDriver-based test cases, as well as managing the execution and playback of the tests within this tool as well. So understand this tool and use it to its great effect to maximize your testing power within Selenium.